Now on the CTV News at 5, more visitors are expected in southern Alberta this summer, with fewer traveling south of the border. Plus, a high-risk incident on Lethbridge's north side is under investigation. And the greatest outdoor show on earth kicks off.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. With school out for the summer and warm temperatures in the forecast, many will be looking to escape the city for holidays over the coming weeks. Now, reports show a growing number of Canadians are choosing not to travel south of the border, which has officials here warning to be patient with more vehicles expected on highways. Carson Marsouk reports.
It was a steady stream of vehicles on Highway 3 west of Lethbridge on Friday.
Throughout the first 6 months of this year, we do know that here at the Visitor Information Center, we've seen an increase in the number of people compared to last year.
And Aaron Crane says that number is only going to go up throughout the next 2 months. Last year, Tourism Lethbridge says 175,000 people from out of town attended events in the city. For those driving the highways this summer, the Alberta Motor Association says be prepared.
Make certain your vehicle's safe. Do a walk around on it, check your fluids, check your tire levels, especially if you have a trailer.
Admission into national parks is free this summer with the Canada Strong Pass. But Crane says the incentive may actually draw tourists away from the park and to smaller destinations with less crowds.
This is a great opportunity for us here across the southern Alberta region, right? We really are that alternative to some of those, key areas, like Waterton, like Banff, like Jasper.
And she says there's been an increase in those on southern Alberta's highways from south of the border already this summer. In May, return trips from the U.S. at land border crossings declined by 38.1% compared to last year.
When we can attract people from the United States, right, that increases that visitor spend. And even more so if we can attract people from international markets.
But the added traffic does come with dangers.
In the summer months, to be honest, those are usually where there are more fatalities on the roads.
According to the province, 279 people died on Alberta's highways in 2023. Officials say the most proactive thing to do is be patient while driving.
When you're relaxed about your time and you know you're not rushed, you'll have a tendency to just be a little bit safer.
Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Cowboy hats filled the streets as horses thundered through downtown Calgary this morning, kicking off the greatest outdoor show on earth. Crowds lined the 5-kilometer route for the Calgary Stampede Parade. An estimated 330,000 people attended, about 30,000 more than last year. The parade featured over 100 entries, 5,000 plus participants, and 700 horses joined alongside dancers, drummers, and some truly spectacular floats on display. At the heart of it all, a country music icon, Canadian Shania Twain, is this year's parade marshal. She calls it one of the biggest honors she has ever received.
This is really just about a personal exchange with Calgary, with the Stampede, and I'll feel like this is my grand welcome. The spirit of the West is alive and well here in Calgary.
And beyond the fun, there is big business behind the Stampede. Just this one event generates more than $280 million for Calgary's economy. Now, south of the border this Independence Day may feel a bit different for many Americans. Protests against Trump's policies were planned around the country. In Southern California, some July 4th celebrations were canceled altogether. Officials say it's because of safety concerns over Trump's immigration crackdown. The Los Angeles neighborhood of El Sereno canceled its parade after 90% of participants dropped out. The organizer says the majority of Latino community is very patriotic, but many are avoiding events out of fear of immigration agents. Danielle Savoni is here with our first look at the forecast. And Danielle, today, much more enjoyable with those reasonable temperatures. Very appreciated.
Absolutely. And if you like it a little cooler, well, then this weekend's for you. We're looking at rain and even cooler than the temperatures we've had out there today. Here's a look at the rain that's on the way, and it will be heavy at times. So much needed rainfall to come, especially starting tonight for most communities. 21 degrees is that nice, reasonable temperature in Lethbridge right now. Yes, the clouds are increasing as that system from the south approaches. It's 21 in Pincher Creek as well, 24 in Milk River, 22 in Brooks, and 24 in Medicine Hat. Your full weekend forecast coming up, Jackie.
All right. Thank you, Danielle. Lethbridge police are asking for the public's help locating a man wanted on a Canada-wide arrest warrant. 41-year-old Cody Blue Favel is wanted for a parole violation stemming from a manslaughter conviction. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to contact either police or Crime Stoppers. A high-risk incident on the city's north side early this morning is still under investigation. Lethbridge police were on the scene at a home along the 200 block of Uplands Boulevard North around 6:20 this morning. At the time, officers were asking the public to stay away from the area. About 3 hours later, police had the incident resolved. Neighbors told CTV this wasn't the first time police had visited the home. No further information has been released by police at this time. And an update from Blood Tribe Police for you about a missing man. Clement Wolfplume has been found safe. Police thank the public for their assistance. The number of overdose deaths in Lethbridge appears to be declining. The city also says that it no longer leads the province in highest overdose deaths per capita. In the first 3 months of 2025, Lethbridge only recorded 2 overdose deaths. That includes no deaths being recorded in March. Lethbridge peaked with 124 overdose deaths in 2023, but by 2024, that number was down to 42. If the current trends hold for this year, Lethbridge would see its lowest number of overdose deaths since at least 2016. In a statement, the province calls the drop in overdoses a very encouraging trend. They say there have also been slight decreases in EMS responses and emergency department visits related to substance use in Lethbridge. While we have made significant strides towards responding to the addiction crisis, more work continues to increase access to treatment and recovery from the disease of addiction. The Fort Macleod Emergency Department will be temporarily closed this weekend, starting today. The emergency department will be closed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The department will still be open overnight, though. The closure is due to an unexpected staffing shortage. EMS will be rerouted to Chinook Regional Hospital in Lethbridge while the department is closed. The emergency department will return to 24-hour service on Monday, July the 7th. Over 1.3 million people are expected to visit the Calgary Stampede over the next 10 days. The massive event is taking place at the same time the province is dealing with high measles numbers. We saw 11 new cases today in the province, moving the provincial total to nearly 1,200, but that number could soon rise as doctors are warned the Stampede and other events could pose exposure risks to the virus. Measles is spread through the air and can remain active for 2 hours after an infected person has left the area.
In fact, measles is world-class in its ability to infect people with relatively minor amounts of contact. So I think the question would be more, where couldn't you get it?
Dr. Talbot is also concerned people from out of province or outside the country could get the virus and then spread it back in their own communities. Now here's a closer look at the latest new measles cases. Most of the new 11 are in the North Health Zone, where they're now at 305. 3 cases are in the South for a total of 745. Health officials continue to urge Albertans to get vaccinated with 2 doses of MMR vaccine to prevent the highly contagious and preventable disease. Alberta's new referendum rules are now in effect. Starting today, the new threshold to hold a referendum will be 177,000 signatures collected within 4 months. That is down from 600,000 signatures. The Premier has talked about separatist sentiment being a big reason for the changes, but the referendum question approved by Elections Alberta is from a group that wants Alberta to stay in Canada. Pierre Poilievre is officially registered to run in the Battle River Crowfoot by-election in Alberta. The federal Conservative leader lost his Ottawa area seat in the April election. The Alberta by-election takes place August the 18th.
What we're seeing in the numbers is somewhat encouraging. I mean, that, exporters, Canadian companies are taking that spare capacity that the United States created, or the empty space on the order books, and are able to, in some cases, fill it with other markets.
New numbers from Stats Canada show Canadian exports to the U.S. are at one of the lowest levels ever, while exports to other countries have reached a record high. The data shows a drop in exports south for the 4th straight month, while imports from the U.S. are on the decrease for the 3rd straight month. Experts say it's a direct result of Canada's efforts to diversify international trade relationships. A vibrant celebration of Latin traditions, flavors, music and dance will take place tomorrow in Lethbridge. The Southern Alberta Ethnic Association is putting on its annual Latin Fest at Galt Gardens. The festival will feature live performances, authentic cuisine and family-friendly activities. After the celebration at Galt Gardens, a party will take place at the Multicultural Centre. Latin Fest runs from 1 until 7 tomorrow. Still ahead, Danielle is back after the break with your weekend forecast. Also, how a new Canadian website is providing health resources in numerous languages.
All right, here's your Skywatch weather cam. Facing west, clouds are increasing and rain is on the way. And for Lethbridge and areas off to the west of Lethbridge, that's where we're looking at the heaviest amount of rain possible and could pick up 10-20 millimeters. We'll talk more about amounts in just a second. As you can see, temperatures have cooled in Alberta, high of 16 so far in Edmonton, 18 in Calgary, and into the 20s now in Saskatchewan rather than the 30s they had yesterday, while Manitoba still holding on to some 30s in the south end. Okay, right now, mid-20s for Medicine Hat, 23 for Lethbridge, 18 for Calgary, so still warmer, of course, in the southeast pocket. It will be cooler tomorrow, so if you thought today was on the cooler side compared to what we've had, tomorrow you will notice a significant difference because it will be cloudy, it will be rainy, and it will be windy. And all of those factors, well, you'll notice a bit of a chill. Okay, when we talk about that longer term trend with regards to temperature, right now we have this ridge of high pressure that is slumped out, still holding on to some heat in the southeast corner. But we're going to get another ridge of high pressure build in. It's going to start on Monday. So, for example, Lethbridge on Monday will be in the high 20s. And by Tuesday, all communities in the south end pretty much should be in the 30s. And it will last at least a couple of days. So likely heat warnings will return once again for Tuesday next week. Okay, radar and satellite showing you the system that's on the way from the States. This will be a significant rainfall. Unfortunately, not for the southeast corner. We could pick up a millimeter or two for Medicine Hat, for example, but Lethbridge could get up to 20 because some of these waves from this system will actually be quite heavy. So arrival time, well, areas off Pincher Creek, Crowsnest Pass area could start to get this as early as 6:30 and intensify. And then for Lethbridge, it looks more like an 11 o'clock type thing, maybe just a couple light pockets at that point, and then intensifying through the overnight hours and certainly heavy rain at times through tomorrow. And then later in the day, the potential, small potential, for thunderstorm activity in Lethbridge, a greater potential in the East Kootenay area of thunderstorm activity for this evening, even through the overnight hours, and likely picking up about 3 to 5 millimeters of rain throughout the day tomorrow as well, with a high of 21. The sun should peek out a little bit later in the day. Okay, Crowsnest Pass, 5 to 10 millimeters possible tonight, and then another 5 to 10 millimeters possible tomorrow. Only a high of 17 for tomorrow. And those overnight hours likely starting again where it gets really heavy, 11 o'clock tonight through especially tomorrow morning. Medicine Hat, less likely to see rainfall with this, but there should be some isolated showers in some pockets. So we have the potential of picking up about a millimeter of rain tonight and a millimeter tomorrow, but it will likely be under 2 in total. 19 as the high for tomorrow, and Lethbridge 17 as our high. So yes, it's certainly chilly. This is a nice relief though from the heat as it starts to build back up starting on Sunday. So for Lethbridge, 10 millimeters is possible tonight, then another 10 to 15 possible tomorrow. So likely looking at about 20 millimeters of rain in total, and then another millimeter carrying into Sunday morning. There may be some sun peeking out later on Sunday morning, a high of 21, and then 28 for Monday, back into the 30s for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
Finding good, credible health resources online can be challenging, especially if English is not your first language. But there is a Canadian website that offers reliable information in numerous languages. Pauline Chan has those details.
स्ट्रेस नाल बच्चों के दिमाग ते भी असर हो सकता है।
It started as a COVID project, helping the Punjabi community find reliable health information for their families.
It became clear as the pandemic was rolling out and vaccines were rolling out that we really needed to think about how to communicate effectively with diverse communities, not just in terms of translating information, but also understanding, what their priorities were.
Dr. Rupadaman Minhas is a developmental pediatrician with St. Michael's Hospital, and his project has now grown into Our Kids Health Network.
The beauty of social media really is that you create something that really can spread very quickly.
There are now 10 language groups, including Arabic, Cantonese, Tamil, and even Inuit. Information ranges from measles or ADHD to more mundane questions.
Things that you wouldn't necessarily make an appointment to go see your healthcare provider on, but is good to know, like how to stop a nosebleed, how to trim a newborn's fingernails.
There's even a category for dads. Irina Dovoretska, a pediatrician in her native Ukraine, is responsible for the Ukrainian Kids Health chapter, and she says the work goes beyond just translation.
We not only translate the language, but also delivering the healthcare topics in a simpler language that is more understandable for families.
Registered behavioral analyst Althea Frank Esho says culturally sensitive presentations also create trust, especially for new immigrants and those for whom English is not a first language.
You can understand it easier, and I think you're more likely also to believe it if it's coming to you in your language, if there are examples that you can relate to, maybe the people even look like you.
The videos created by some 75 experts from various health fields and in different languages are available on Facebook and Instagram. And Our Kids Health Network is launching a Black Francophone group as well as additional Indigenous language groups in the near future. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
After months of waiting, would-be parents in BC can now apply for a free round of in vitro fertilization.
Our IVF program will reduce the financial burden this costly process can have on families, support more people in our province on the path to parenthood, and ultimately change lives.
The publicly funded program will cover up to $19,000 for one round of IVF. Households with an income of less than $100,000 will be eligible for the full amount, with benefits phasing out for those earning more than $250,000. Patients must be covered by MSP and be between the ages of 18 and 41 when they apply. Applications need to be submitted by a participating fertility clinic. Now, the program was announced during last year's provincial budget, which allocated $68 million in funding over 2 years. Still ahead, on the CTV News at 5, the Toronto Blue Jays are atop the AL East. Sports is next. A pair of Southern Alberta WCBL teams were in action last night. Here's a look at how they fared. It took the Medicine Hat Mavericks until the 8th inning to score, but one run was all they needed to beat the Fort McMurray Giants. Brooks came up a bit short in a high-scoring affair, losing 24-10 against the Energy City Cactus Rats. Tonight, the Lethbridge Bulls are back in action after a rare two-day break. They're on the road against the Brooks Bombers. Medicine Hat, meanwhile, will continue their series against the Fort McMurray. Both games start at 7:05. The Toronto Blue Jays stand alone at the top of the American League East after sweeping the Yankees in another exciting game at the Rogers Centre last night.
Well hit ball to right center field. It's gone.
The game was tied at 1 in the 3rd inning when George Springer hit a 2-run homer to put Toronto out in front. The Jays held on to win it 8-5, knocking the Yankees to 2nd place in the East, where they are now tied with the Rays. Here's what Jays manager John Schneider said after the game.
It's a great series, man, from a variety of different, reasons and a lot of different guys. And cool to do it here at home, Canada Day included. Just really, really proud of these guys. It's nice to be where we are. They're a real good team. The way that they continue to come back and answer hasn't been just this series.
Tonight, the Blue Jays start a 3-game homestand against the Los Angeles Angels. Calgary Stampeders hosted Winnipeg Blue Bombers at McMahon Stadium for the first ever Stampede Bowl. There was a live halftime show with Poison frontman Brent Michaels. The Stamps won 37-16. Calgary hits the road to play the Roughnecks next week on Friday. Famed competitive eater Joey Jaws Chestnut has reclaimed the mustard belt at the annual 4th of July Coney Island hot dog eating contest.
Champion of the world, Joey Chestnut!
Chestnut consumed 70 and a half hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes to win the contest for the 17th time. He later apologized to the crowd, saying he wished he had eaten a couple more. Chestnut missed last year's contest because of a contract dispute. He is the all-time record holder, eating 76 wieners in 2021. In the women's division, defending champion Miki Sudo of Tampa, Florida, won her 11th title. She finished off 33 hot dogs. That was down from her record-setting performance a year ago when she ate 51. Wow. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, how an Edmonton retailer is making sure clothing stays out of the landfill and in your closet. Recent data shows more Canadians are shopping secondhand for clothing. At the same time, Canadians are also trashing millions of pieces of clothing each year. CTV's Nariman Issa reports.
This was a beautiful little linen dress that I found, but it was very stained.
It was a tarnished dress slated for the landfill. Instead, it got a bit of TLC.
So it turned what was going to be thrown out because it was so stained into something that is now wearable.
Lorraine Desmond thrifts pieces for her clothing company. They're adorned with scraps of clothing too damaged to donate.
It's all one of a kind and unique, and it takes unwanted textiles and gives them a second life.
Like someone else's trash is someone else's treasure.
Designer Emily Whiston Smith grew up thrifting. She's now turned her hobby into a business.
And I found so much joy in having unique pieces that other people didn't have, and the self-expression that comes along with that.
The clothes are sold out of the welded hanger on White Ave.
It started off as consignment. I just started to get more and more customers coming in requesting items from a small upcycled rack that I had.
Both thrifting and textile waste is on the rise in Canada. A report by Trendix found in 2023 more than $4.2 billion in used clothing were sold. A University of Waterloo study shows in that same year, nearly 500 million kilograms of fabric ended up in landfills.
And especially like in this fast fashion world where we just kind of want the next thing, we've kind of forgot that the next thing can be something that's pre-loved.
A sustainable way to update your closet.
Try on some of these items. You'll be shocked at what you leave with.
Helping save money and Mother Earth. Naranisa, CTV News, Edmonton.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.